Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling. Welcome to another video where I'm going to make a case that I haven't seen made before, but I think should be, in that Orcs just might be the best starter army in 40k. I'm also going to, explain what I'm painting in the background for a little bit of help, and also it'll be a point later. Now you may be confused because the starter army most people point to is Space Marines. After all, they're a very flexible force of very cool and iconic models. But again, I'm going to make the case that Orcs give them a good run for their money, and of course, the first thing to start with is the green skin, and then your red, if you're using that for your clan color, or whatever it may be, for their top. Regardless, the reason I'm saying Orcs are such a great starter army, in terms of rules, is that they have a huge variety of units. They have light infantry, heavy infantry, shock infantry, they have walkers, vehicles, they have bikers, they have hover bikes, something the Space Marines don't have. They have a wide range of characters, a wide range of options on their base infantry, as well as the fact that Orcs have several different playstyles, and all of them are usually well facilitated, whether it be a shooting list or a melee focus list, as most people know the Orcs for. The next few steps here were to simply paint the pants khaki as well as the boots black. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we're just base coating. But we're almost to the point where I'm going to explain why Orcs are such a great starter army, not just for rules, but for the faction. Now, you may wonder what I mean when I say they have all these units. Let's go through some examples. They, of course, have Gretchen. They have Commandos. They have Killicans for heavy infantry. Normal Boys for shock troops. Full-on walkers with the Death Dread. They have Death Coptas, which function as very similar to jet bikes, as something like the Custodes might have. They have war bikers, which of course act as bikers like most factions have. They have such a huge range of characters, from war bosses to beast bosses to pain boys, mechs, weird boys, and so on. In terms of infiltrating commando units, they literally have commandos, which act as a self-operating unit that can infiltrate, which is very useful for objectives, as well as the fact that they have some heavy fire weapons, heavy firepower units in the flash kits, as well as having heavy artillery with the mech guns. They have a cheap transport in the truck. They have a deluxe transport with some big gun options in the battle wagon. They have a special character that looks fantastic in Gazgal Thraka, as well as Boss Snickrot. Their new model, the Big Mech, looks fantastic. They also have some great deals on Knight equivalents in the Morkanaut and the Gorkanaut, and even a Plastic Titan equivalent in the Stampa. Now, as you can see here, I finished base coating on my metallics and the blue and orange on the detail bits, and next is to use speed paints on the skin and on the weapons and pretty much everything, excluding the orange, because the orange doesn't really need it for what we're going to do next. But as we're getting into this point, we're going to get into why I think Orcs are so good in terms of progressing your hobby skills, which is an important part of the hobby for a lot of people. Because remember, your rules are temporary, but your models and your paint scheme is forever. So we're going to use this as a guideline to show why Orcs, in almost all of their models, are such great practice for painting every single technique you could really think of. Now, as you can see here, I did Orc Flesh from the Army Painter on the skin, and I used Gravelord Grey on all the metal, and Hardened Leather on all the brown and khaki. And then you're going to want to give this a long time to dry, obviously, because it is speed paint. I also used Highlander Blue on his blue tassel. Now, you'd be wondering why I gave them a blue tassel and an orange loincloth. Well, blue is a lucky color for the Orcs, and orange is the color often associated with Gork in a piece of artwork that a lot of you have seen, where Gork is on one side and Mork is on the other, one being blue, the other being orange. So I like to include those as little Easter eggs on my Orcs that are of higher standing, usually the likes of this knob here, who I'm going to make the boss knob of my knob squad. So once you have all this, the model already looks quite nice, quite dulled down, but the next point is that Orcs have every kind of texture on their models, starting with, of course, their flesh, which is quite caricatured and over-muscled, which makes it immensely good practice for highlighting. In fact, the first model where I really realized how to highlight was an Orc Boy that I did in a video a couple weeks ago. Now, this is going to look strange at first. It's not going to look good. But the thing is, there's a sort of a breakthrough point where it all just clicks and everything looks so good. It makes the unit so much more readable from a distance, as well as just looking fantastic. You're going to want to go to a finer brush for this. I'm using a size 3 from the Army Painter, which isn't super fine, but it's more fine than the base coating brush I was using. And then you're going to want to take the original color, which in this case is mood green, and you're going to want to simply paint the highlighted areas that aren't dark left behind from the speed paint. And that's why we're using speed paint, is it helps you as a guideline. The arms are also great practice for this, since they're just so immensely jacked. It makes it very easy to see what needs to be highlighted and what doesn't need to be highlighted. Now, of course, you will make some mistakes, like I got a little bit of green on his jacket here, but that's no big deal. It's all relatively easy to fix. And speaking of, they also have their clothes, which help with painting cloth and things like capes. They have leather from their belts and everything, and a lot of them tend to have hairs or tassels like this, which helps with painting hairs and tassels. They also tend to have bones somewhere, and of course, on this guy, you can see they have immense amounts of metal. Now, the color I used for this was the original color with flesh tone mixed in, which is a better way to do edge highlight colors than just using white, as it doesn't desaturate the color. Then again, with Steel Legion Drab mixed up with flesh tone, or Caucasian flesh tone, I should say, I highlighted all the heights of the crevices on his pants, and a little while later, I also did his knees, and I did some hatchwork patterns to sort of give the implication of texture, like canvas almost. Then you're going to want to use a bright silver. I used mithril silver, which has a slightly blue tinge to highlight all the silver metal, and in fact all of the sort of tinny gold metal, which I use for decoration. Now, you may wonder why we don't use the gold metal for that. It's because it simply looks quite good to highlight with this bright silver on all of the metal. Now, the good thing about this is most of the metal has quite straight edges, so you can simply run the edge of your brush along it. But for those that you have to get in deep, it's not too hard, and there's nothing quite in the way enough to be too difficult to deal with. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.